Hey there, internet friends. Welcome to another episode of That Nerdy Site Show, a weekly podcast where the team members from That Nerdy Site get together to talk about our lives and all of the nerdy things we love about them. I'm your host, Trevor Starkey, and joining me this week we have Logan Wilkinson. How you doing, Logan?
I'm doing wonderful.
Excellent. And Cameron Abbott. How you doing, Cam?
I am doing fantastic. A little tired, but doing well.
Did you sleep last night before this one, or is
Yeah.
this another one of those episodes
Yeah,
where
no,
you
no,
haven't slept in
I
24
slept.
hours? Okay.
No, I slept. I slept. I went to bed a little late, but that's fine. I
Yeah.
slept
Fair.
for a few hours. So
There you go. Well, today we're going to be talking all about Logan's kind of experience with Astro's Playroom. He's finally got a PS5, so he's been playing that for last week. Cam has hopped into Yakuza Kiwami for the first time, while I have been playing Yakuza Like a Dragon, and I went and sat down and watched Raya and the Last Dragon. So we got a big old fun PlayStation slash Yakuza slash Dragon show today. But before we dive into that, a little bit of housekeeping for you. If you like what you hear, please remember to like, subscribe, rate, review, share the podcast with friends, all that fun stuff. And if you're feeling extra generous, you can always support us on Patreon at patreon.com/thatnerdysite, just like all of our wonderful producers do. So yeah, let us kick it off, Logan. I've got here in the video version pulled up just for you. I went back in and replayed Astro's Playroom myself this week, knowing that you were going to be talking about it on the show. And while I was in there, I was like, well, I'm probably going to use this image for the thumbnail, and it is the Ghost of Tsushima Easter egg in the game, given that was your game of the year. So I went in and basically grabbed that as a screenshot and have it prepped for this week's thumbnail. So I have it here in the video version of the show as well.
Perfect.
But yeah, let's talk about your time with Astro's Playroom. We talked about it a little bit, your early impressions on this week's That News You Care About, but now you have finished the game. So yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah, I mean it's fantastic, right? It's all of the little small moments I think that add up to something just so special. Whether it's because I like we were talking about just before we started recording, I've been going back now since I beat it and like just cleaning up everything, get the platinum trophy in it, and re-beating the PS2 level again yesterday. I think as I was getting trophies for that one. And just hearing, because the first time I heard the PC music, I definitely like got checked up for a second. I was like, oh shit, like I wasn't ready for that one. And then knowing what's coming again, and just having like the Rainbow Road Trail to the PS2 like area thing, and like hearing the music, and like what I didn't notice the first time because I was so caught up by the music, and like knowing I was about to see the PS2, this time noticing they had like the little symbols from the PS2 as well, like floating around, and like when I beat the PS3 level, which was the last level I actually beat, seeing the little like PS3 like UI symbols like floating around, and I was like, oh shit, like I wasn't ready for like such small but like powerful details.
When real quick on the PS2 level, when you got to the end of that one, did you turn around and see the little Easter egg that's there?
Bot of War.
Yeah.
I absolutely did. Yeah, because I wanted to see what was behind me, and I saw that, and I was like, oh, what is this game? And the God of War Easter egg was very, very good. I mean, all of the, because most of the consoles, I think maybe all of them actually, have like a disc for each of like the things basically, and like the Uncharted one for the PS3 was also one that I really liked. I mean, I'm not the first person to say it, obviously, but it is such a incredible love letter to PlayStation, right? And this kind of quarter century that they've built up now, and I tweeted this out as well over the weekend, but I was just so blown away by all the small things, right? And like going into like the PlayStation Labo and like seeing all of these random PlayStation artifacts that by themselves mean very little, but I think kind of the cumulative effect of all of them just sitting there being like, this is literally in my case, like, 25 out of 29 of the years I've been alive, this thing has been there, right? From like my earliest memories, basically. I mean, literally, I've written about this part. Like, some of my earliest memories are PlayStation games, whether they're real or not. And so, I think I was surprised at how much it kind of like hit me in those kind of small emotional levels. And then like seeing all the Easter eggs, like seeing the Crash one, which I found on the playthrough again, the Jack and Dexter one, the Last of Us one, of course, is great. And then so many like big and small ones, like the Spyro thing, like it's an incredibly done video game, and even if you just push all this out, even if you've never played a PlayStation game before this, it's a really fun, charming platformer as well. Like, that's the thing. Like, they nailed both aspects of the game so well, I think. And all of the bots have so much, like, personality, I think, and charm and, like, fun to them all. Like, I think you can't help but play this game with a smile on it. And it seems like it has kind of that, like, infectious, just joy, like, smile energy that, like, those kind of classic Mario games have to me, right? Like, this is just, like, a celebration of PlayStation mixed with, like, that kind of, like, joy to it. Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's such a fun thing. Even, like, going back and replaying it was such a, like, a little gem. It was such a joyous, fun, like, just thing to revisit. Especially what I had, like, fun doing as I replayed it through this time was I didn't realize how good I was at the game now because having done it a lot, because I'm, like, playing through, and I don't think, like, I think I made it through, like, the whole PlayStation level without dying or something like that, and I was like, oh, nice, like, can I do, like, a no death run? I did not do a no death run, especially in I think it's the PlayStation 2 level where it is, like, you're flying through the air and stuff.
Those are hard.
I crashed into a whole bunch of things there, and just, like, it's a sudden, like, oh, you fall, you die. So yeah, that was like a less than fun time, like, revisiting some of those things, and it made me made me aware of, like, the checkpointing isn't as good as I would like it to be in some places.
Yeah.
Because I die and I'd be like, oh, I've got to go all the way back through this stuff.
It's super generous in other places. It's very interesting. Like, some places it's very generous, in other places it is definitely a bit harder.
Yeah. But yeah, it was just so fun, and there's definitely there are a ton of games in there that are getting referenced that I don't know, I've never played, and all that kind of stuff. And after I beat the game the first time around, I went out and, like, found, like, an IGN, like, here are all the Easter eggs we found in Astro's Playroom, one of those kind of videos, and, like, watched through, and, like, there were plenty of things that I knew were clearly references to Easter eggs and stuff like that, but I just didn't know the games, didn't have them as a reference point. Even, I think, in the Let's Play we have up on the channel, I'm going through, and I didn't piece together the Until Dawn Easter egg the first time around.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I caught it, like, the second time I was playing, but I'm pretty sure that I did that off cam or something like that. Like, I looked at it, I was like, this is clearly something, I don't quite know what it is. And then, like,
it took me a second.
The next time around, you see, articles of clothing that some of the bots are wearing, or you see, like, the butterfly kind of going around or whatever, and that definitely, like, sells it and cements it that this is the Until Dawn thing. But, like, some of my favorite ones in there are like the obscure ones that I did catch. In particular, there's one, and it's not even it's one that, like, most of the Easter eggs have, like, the PlayStation bot with the camera kind of, like, drawing your attention to it and filming it or whatever. But there was one in one of the levels, I don't remember which level it is. It might be the Cooling Springs level, where it's like an underwater tank, and there's, like, a bot, like, doing VR in a cage under there, and that's a direct reference to the PlayStation Worlds demo disc that came with the PSVR, because one of the games in there is, like, you are in a shark tank that, like, just goes down, it's submerged. It's basically, like, it is only interactive in that your head moves, and so you can see what you're looking at. You're not pushing any buttons or anything in that, but it was very cool just to see even that get a little nod.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And yeah, so it's just a ton of fun. And one of the things I really love about that you probably don't have, the appreciation for because you haven't played Rescue Mission, the VR game, is that so many of the Easter eggs incorporate characters from Astrobot Rescue Mission, or, like, the enemies and the bosses from Astrobot Rescue Mission. Like, the Last Guardian one in there is basically, like, it's your character and the bird dog is the Easter egg, but they use the bird character who's, like, one of the bosses in the main game. Or similarly, like, there's an area where you can go in and you'll find, like, Spider-Man, kind of that Easter egg, and all of the spider creatures in there are the spider boss that's in the Astrobot Rescue Mission game and stuff like that. Even the giant robot that, like, lifts you up at some point was a boss in that game. And I think he's what like he in this, I believe he's like the Colossus for the Shadow of the Colossus Easter egg. So like even those references where they like kind of break out from it just being a couple Astro bot characters to incorporate like their my lights are disappearing. Incorporate the larger kind of collection of characters from Astrobot Rescue Mission are just a ton of fun. That if you're a fan of that game, you get like a deeper appreciation for as well. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you had a great time with it.
I think
go ahead.
It's one for me too, where how diverse and varied each of like the worlds are in terms of each like console's kind of stage is really cool as well. And like there's a moment and again too, it should be noted as well, I'm playing this on a like 6-year-old TV as well, or like my TV is not like any sort of like, you know, state of the art thing here, but there was a moment, I think it's gotta be in the Cooling Springs one for like the PS3. I think it's like the third stage of that where it's like the ice part of that where like the penguins are walking around and everything there, and I like slid down the tube, like shot out into there, and like everything is such like just different shades of blue rippling all together and it looks so nice. And it's like, this looks incredible on my TV, and it's like I can't imagine what this looks like in like a 4K like HDR, like, and I was like, holy shit, this is gonna be like, this is a cool moment already. It's such a beautiful game, even on my TV. It's just, again, like, I think the biggest compliment I say, having beaten the game multiple times now, is just it's all of the small little things they do. So like all the small details that they have no reason to pay any attention to. They like are totally just like extra work basically, but like just further, I think, solidify just how great of like a total package it is. And like the PS3 and PS4 like world levels in particular are like, I think, just fantastic. Like all like they're just so good. The PS2 one unfortunately is like my least favorite, which kind of bums me out. But like they're all so good. They're all, I think, so well made and designed. There's so much thought put into everything. Like that's I guess what it is too. Like there's so clearly so much thought put into like every decision and every Easter egg and every like joke. And like all of the bots and like PlayStation Labo in particular is like such like there's so much happening there. The mural is awesome. And such a cool like tapestry to PlayStation's history as well. And then one thing I didn't like, I again discovered by accident, was in the PlayStation Labo, there's just like a thing there that you had gotten that like I like spun into by accident, and that's what allowed me to see that I could like individually go look at everything and like the zoom in and out thing again there to like review them all. I have lots of screenshots of just the PS2 or the PS like 3 by themselves, just like, oh, that's such, I just want it. Yeah, it is, as someone who, you know, never grew up with Nintendo in the same way, especially after like the N64 generation, but has just kind of grown with PlayStation and grown with this kind of series and characters. Yeah, it is absolutely like such an incredible like history book on, I think, the console and why so many people over so many generations, over 25 plus years now, have like fallen in love with it. And yeah, it is. If I had played it last year, it would easily have been in my top 10. And so I'll have to do like a special shout out to it later on. But yeah, it is absolutely incredible. I
mean, I'm very much feeling the same way with like Yakuza Like a Dragon as I'm playing that now.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, I mean, like I'm not going to be opposed to putting it in my top 10 for this year, because this is the year I'm finally getting around to it. Especially if it, like, obviously it stays there and stuff. But yeah, it like Astro's Playroom is so much fun. I love, like, I absolutely went in, like, even though my Labo area was full and had been full, I went in there and played around and had just fun, like whacking the thing on the PS2 so that like the PS logo switches to accommodate if you wanted it upright or if you wanted it on its side or whatever. Or like hitting the PS1 and watching the bots go flying when the eject hits and stuff like that. Yeah, it's just such a delightful, just like it oozes all of the charm that the original Rescue Mission game had, and then it just piles on all of your nostalgia love for PlayStation on top of that. But yeah, as you touched on, it's also just a great platformer outside of it. I agree that I would probably, if I were to rank like the different levels, the PS2 one is probably my weakest, but I love the jetpack components of that level, and that like because each level has their for lack of a better term, like the gimmicky portion where it is like, okay, you're gonna stop being like 3D platformer and you're gonna go into a thing, be it the springy frog or the jungle ape kind of thing that can swing with the 6-axis, or the jetpack where you can kind of control the jetpack with the haptic feedback, adaptive triggers rather. And I love those elements of that level. Just such a fun little gem of a game. So I'm glad you're having a great time with it.
The last thing I just wanted to say for Astro, because you reminded me of it, is just like and it's like, it's such a like it's gotta be some sort of like weird like human brain thing, but it's like all of the little like knickknacks that like you had as a kid from like PlayStation accessories, and be like, all right, like they know that, and it's like, yeah, of course, this console sold 150 million units, they knew that thing, like they knew this PlayStation accessory, but it is such a like fun thing, and like all of the small like the dumb shit, like the slim PS2 that I never had, but like my cousins got their PS2 late, and so they had the slim PS2 and being like, oh shit, I haven't seen this in 15 years, or like the different PS3s, or like the different the PS4 was less, but like the different PS3s too, and be like, that's the one I had, like that was my PS3, right? And like getting really excited about that for like no reason at all.
I had the they call it the chibi PS1 basically in the game. Here.
That's one that you had?
I had one of the originals as well, but then like at some point I got one of the chibi ones as well. Yeah.
Ooh.
So like I think we had like two in the house. Basically, we had like our game room one, and then I was going into high school basically, or I was in high school I think when we got the original PlayStation. So it was like, that was when they finally were like, okay, you can have video games in your room, Trevor. You can play video games in your room instead of having to go to like the big TV in the game room. So I think that was where we put like that one was in my room. When I didn't want to play on the big screen, I wanted to play like late into the night and stay up late or something like that. So like seeing that pop up, I was like, oh, I haven't thought about that in so many years. But it's cool to have. I never had like the LCD attachment that's with that one.
No.
But it like even that is something that like we easily could have had, because my family also had like this van that we would go on road trips with that had like enough power in it that we had like an NES and an SNES in there when we would go on like trips back to Michigan and stuff. So we absolutely could have like played PS1 sitting there in our big van for cross country road trips if we'd had something like that.
Sure.
Yeah, so much like just love and affection and care put into that game. All of those little the little disc Easter eggs are certainly a ton of fun. One of the things I'm sure I noticed it at the time, but it definitely like leapt out at me this time, was like there's like a small section in, I want to say I think it's the PS1 level, where you have to like jump across some clouds and do like a little platforming section. Yeah. And the clouds alternate between, it is a PS1, because they alternate from being a PS1 and a PS1 controller. And just like even seeing that, like if it didn't register with me the first time, it definitely registered with me this time. I was just like, that is just such a charming little way to like incorporate the design of these classic consoles into your level design stuff. Absolute fun. It's like right where the Death Stranding Easter egg is as well.
Yep.
Such a joyous little gem of a game.
It is a beautiful game.
Any final thoughts there for you, Logan?
I mean, just that it's it is just a truly beautiful game. I think, it comes with the console. I recommend anyone who gets a PS5 to just play it. Like, it does not take long. You will have so much fun with it. You'll have so much fun spotting all the Easter eggs. And I think whether you've played PlayStation for only a generation or two, or if this is your first time owning a PlayStation console, or if, like me and Trevor, you're freaks who've had it for way too long, it is just such a joy, and I think it'll just make you really happy. Like it'll make you really nostalgic and happy and reflect back, I think, on a lot of really awesome memories that have been had playing these games with these characters on those consoles. It's beautiful.
And one last thing I'll throw out there is the music is great. And one of the reasons I re-hopped into it that Logan and I touched on a little bit earlier on one of our calls this week was in addition to Logan replaying it kind of like triggering Logan playing it triggering me want to sit down and replay it. The PlayStation blog had a post of the like one of the sound designers basically for the game kind of talking through and showing the iterative process that he has of creating the like GPU jungle theme on the PlayStation blog. And so like I went through and like listened to all of the tracks that like led up to that final song that is just like a charming little like
I remember to read that
audio like the GPU is singing the song to you as you're going through levels. It's just such a fun little joyous thing. In the PS4 level. So yeah, ton of fun there, and just such a lovely little game. With that, I will kick it over to you, Cam. You started streaming a little bit this week.
I did.
And you've been playing some Yakuza Kiwami, kind of following me from like 3 months ago, except I didn't stream it. What are your kind of initial impressions of Yakuza Kiwami?
Well, so first, just to kind of talk on my streaming a bit, I am streaming over at twitch.tv/RevCabot, but
yes, this was as Weeb Wednesday.
Yeah, Weeb Wednesday. So basically, I'm like I like to have themes. I'm a thematic person.
I appreciate as somebody who also loves themes and alliteration. I appreciated Weeb Wednesday.
Yeah, Weeb Wednesday. It's been I've been wanting to start streaming since last year. And like things just did not work out last year for me to be streaming.
Sure.
And so I was like, I'm going to take some time, get things ready. My initial plan, actually, I talked about it while I was on the stream, but my initial plan was actually to come back. So I did a test stream on Monday just to kind of be like, hey, just test to make sure all the technology works. And then follow up and do a test stream on Tuesday to make sure that my PS4 was streaming correctly, that I didn't get the same kind of like mistake I got with Undertale a while back, a year plus ago, where like my audio wasn't coming in for the PS4.
Mm-hmm.
Got that all figured out and fixed up, and so Wednesday I was ready to kind of like really kick things off, announced it and everything. But the initial plan that I'd been working on since I got my computer back up and running was I've been building a VTuber avatar.
I don't know what that means.
It's a virtual.
I already know I don't want to know what it means, but we're doing a podcast, so tell me.
I'm okay. So a VTuber is essentially a 3D avatar of a person, and using face rigging technology through the camera, you basically talk through them. So it shows them instead of you, and like it's like they're playing the game instead of you. Or they are you, etc. Great examples of this include like really big popular ones, like the entire like VTuber phenomenon going on over in Japan for a while last few years.
I mean, I was just gonna I would just think of Mario from Mario 64, the intro to Mario 64.
Yeah, like a little bit like that. Yeah, I'd say it's a bit more. Yeah, it's a little bit different.
Obviously, yes.
Yeah, let me.
I don't need examples, and they're not going to work for this audio podcast anyways. But I understand what you're kind of referencing. Like there's an avatar that is basically standing in for the YouTuber or the Twitch streamer.
Yeah. Let me just go ahead. I'm going to share something in the chat while I talk about stuff, and you guys can just get an idea of that.
Okay.
Let me go ahead and do this here.
Again, this is a podcast.
I'm aware.
This isn't the most compelling, entertainment for our audience.
Well, it's like you guys not knowing what it is weird.
But it's like, do we have to know what it is to hear your thoughts on Yakuza Kiwami? Is kind of where I'm sitting.
No, because I'm also explaining. I'm just sharing it in the Discord chat. For anybody wondering, I'm just sharing a simple compilation, all live in English, no context, You guys watch it as you will, but basically that's the general gist of it. For those of you who aren't aware of what a VTuber is, I suggest looking it up. It's super easy to find them on YouTube. But essentially, it is like I mentioned earlier, a 3D avatar that takes a person's place in the interaction with a live chat. They've been popular in Japan for a while. They've made their way stateside. There's a number of them that are very popular to the point where, they're like to the point where like one of the most popular live streaming cam girls is a VTuber. So there's that for you. Anyway, I was putting together a VTuber avatar of myself, and got everything set up for it, got the rigging set up for it, and then I found out that there's a bit of a problem. See, I wear glasses, and unfortunately, with the free rigging technology that I have access to, it just doesn't look good. It makes it look like I am either like my nose is like permanently turned upward, and like I'm like sneering down at you, or like it's just like I couldn't get it to work. I could get it to work without my glasses on, but the moment I put my glasses on, the reflective surface of it just messes with it too much, and would cause like sometimes like some serious like facial deformation from it. So really didn't work out well. Which sucked because that was like a month's worth of work, just like poof, gone and like a fart in the wind.
Yeah. Got to test that stuff as you go.
Yep. I mean, well, I wouldn't know about it until I'd finished putting everything together for it. So, because like testing it out, it's like, yeah, cool, like face rigging's working. Like I'll get it more fine tuned later on, and like the stuff that you like, there is technology that exists that could I could use even if I have glasses on. But that's the kind of stuff, and like to get it with free software would take way too much time.
Is the kind of thing like if you adjusted your setup where your camera is or whatever, because like looking at the video of just this chat, like I imagine a huge component is that I'm seeing your monitors reflected off of your glasses because your monitor is directly in front of you. So if you did it more at an angle, would that would an adjustment there fix it?
I did try that. I tried a couple of like angle adjustments with the camera, but at the end of the day, like it's the big problem is the fact that so I didn't realize how much of the technology relies on it, but the rim of your eye, around your eyeball, where you're like below your eyebrow, that ridge right there is a very important thing to help track your eye movement. Didn't realize it. I thought it would be more focused on the eyeball itself and the eyebrows and eyelids blinking. But it turns out the actual it's true what they say, people always make fun of superheroes for having the domino mask, but it's surprising how much of your facial features and tracking your facial features is if you cover just that area, how much of that is disrupted. So I remember when I was putting this together, I remember a friend telling me that facial recognition technology heavily relies around the area around the eyeballs.
Well, so Aiden Pierce had the wrong idea in Watch Dogs, is what you're telling me, with the bandana over the face. That doesn't really do anything because we can still see your eyebrows, Aiden Pierce.
Yeah. Well, there's other stuff too, but yeah. Anyway, back to the original point here. So the VTuber didn't work out. I was gonna go full weeb. I was like, it's Weeb Wednesday. Come check out this cool surprise that I have, and it was gonna be me as a VTuber, and be like, whoa, check it out. I'm a real anime boy now. And Wednesdays the plan was to stream as an anime boy on Wednesdays, and play weeb games. But instead, it's just me as a sad old man. Playing weeb games instead. So
you're not old, first off, but
and so the game you've been playing was Yakuza Kiwami.
Yeah, Yakuza Kiwami.
Right.
Yakuza Kiwami. So I have been a fan of the Yakuza series for a long time.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah, but I have never played them.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I love the Yakuza series, but I've loved it as a viewer of streamers. People who stream Yakuza games. it's always so much fun, especially if they're like not like it's their first Yakuza game, because the side missions and stuff about a Yakuza game can get pretty crazy, pretty hectic, especially in the later games.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided, hey, I'm going to be playing through it. I already know the story. It's a great story, and like the later games are still really good story-wise. But I'm really not interested in playing through the entire series like in order, like story order, because I just don't want to like bounce between systems like that, like different, whether it's like trying to figure out how to play Yakuza 3 and 4 on like PS Now or whatever. I mean, like trying to get any of that figured out, I'm just not interested in that.
I mean, they're all available on PS4 through the remastered, like 3, 4, and 5 are in a remastered collection.
Are they okay?
Yeah. I picked them all up at the beginning of the year. So Kiwami 1 and 2, Yakuza 0, and then like the remastered collection will get you 3, 4, and 5, and then there's Song of Life 6.
It's 6, yeah. For me, I kind of decided instead of doing that, I really want to take time to kind of see the evolution of the systems of the series as they go on, because that's something that I've never really experienced. I have never played these games before. Mm-hmm. So story I'm putting off to the side. So starting with Kiwami, because it's a remaster of the original Yakuza systems, but modernized on PS4, I decided to take my time to start with Kiwami. After Kiwami, I'm going to hit 0, and then after 0, I'm going to hit like a Dragon, Yakuza 7. Mm-hmm. Reason for that is I kind of want to take a look at like the systems and how they evolved over time, whether it's the like initial games remastering and modernization of that compared to 0, which came out like right around that same time, and having it be a modern Yakuza game, even though it's a prequel. And then I'm going to want to see that jump from 0 to 7, like a Dragon, to see the kind of evolution of the RPG elements as it goes on. So it's going to be a long process. I might take breaks in between games to play other Weeb games. Like we'll see how that goes. But outside of that, I'm also streaming on Mondays. Monday and Wednesday are kind of like my days that I'm going to be streaming. So I'm pretty stoked about that. Monday is just kind of like Monday Fun Day, whatever I want to play. It might be Fallout New Vegas, which I started playing a little bit. Like the Bethesda announcement got me jazzed to hop back into that. Modded that out on my PC, and so I'm playing through that. And then there's I've also been playing like I think the most stuff I've streamed so far, just to like test stuff, was Final Fantasy 14 or Destiny. So I'll probably just keep playing those.
Cool. Yeah. It's interesting that you mentioned this a little bit before we started recording, the notion of going from Kiwami to 0 to Like a Dragon just to try and capture like the evolution of those mechanics. Because I mean, like the only one that I've played that you're not touching on there is Kiwami 2, but even Kiwami 2 I would say has like very different mechanics than Kiwami 1 does, because they change up combat, and then going from Kiwami 2 to going to Yakuza 0, they almost go back in time to Kiwami or to Yakuza 1's kind of combat system, and so like my understanding is pretty much like, they kind of change it up every game. Obviously I haven't played 3 through 6, but then that like 7 is clearly the biggest departure by just going full into JRPG mode. So even that's like there is certainly a weird evolution of like systems there, that also like incorporates a lot of like what came before, just in a new way. That's pretty interesting. But yeah, it's like the idea of like, you want to see the evolution of systems certainly seems like you could see that with the other games as well. But I understand, I mean, like I didn't want to dive into all of the other games before finally just hopping over to Like a Dragon.
Well, I also don't want to be... Oh, sorry. Just to kind of address that as well. I also just don't want to be known as like a Yakuza streamer.
Right. And I mean, certainly if you're only streaming the game one day a week, it will take you forever to get through those things. Like I've been playing Like a Dragon, I'm like 80 hours in or something like that. Like if I had been streaming this and only playing it on stream or something, that would have been quite a bit of time. Yeah. Logan.
It's interesting for me too, just because, so like me personally, having not played Like a Dragon, and have not played Song of Life still, but I haven't played every other Yakuza game. I think Yakuza Kiwami 1 has my favorite combat system in any of the games. So it's interesting that you're starting from that one and then you kind of work into the rest, because that to me is kind of the best plain one. And me and Trevor disagree on this to some extent. I like the fact there are like multiple combat styles and everything. And I think like the skill tree is really, I like that a lot on that one. And then two, like to me at least, like it's very weird that they like took out a lot of those features. And Zero, I think came out in stateside first before Kiwami 1. So those are pretty similar in terms of how those play. Those are pretty close. And then 3, 4, and 5 all kind of obviously are more of like the PS3 generation that they would have been on.
Yeah.
PS2 maybe for yeah. And so that's almost where I would have like almost gone like Yakuza 3 first, but then I understand like the complications of, especially if you didn't know there was a collection that like streaming those first gets complicated. Yeah, I like the idea a lot of like checking out the different ways these games play. It is gonna like Trevor said, it is gonna be you're definitely gonna take some breaks in between these games. You're gonna be spending some time with them if you're streaming them once a week.
I mean, like January and February, apart from like I was playing a lot of Hitman as well, but like I basically played through Kiwami 2, and Yakuza 0 as like my January and February games. And now I've been playing obviously Like a Dragon. So yeah, they are time sucky kind of games, especially if you're doing like all of the side quests or whatever, that kind of thing. If you like, you already saying no, you know the story and stuff, you can just kind of like blaze through a lot of that stuff that you wouldn't have to kind of pay attention to. But yeah, it's definitely it is something like, because that is especially with Like a Dragon, I'm finding like that's where I'm spending most of my time is in the cutscenes, where I'm just getting like a whole bunch of exposition dumped on me. And it's like, well, okay, I can set the controller down and just kind of like enjoy these Kojima level like 20 minutes of just here's story stuff. But yeah.
Like even Kiwami 1, I feel like begins as like a 7-minute cutscene. Just that's how the game begins. Just like a very long cutscene.
And Kiwami I had to pay way more attention to, because obviously it's all in Japanese and I had to like be reading the subtitles. Whereas Like a Dragon they do have an English dub. So I've been enjoying that version. But cool. It'll be interesting. I went to pop in. I think Logan and I were recording that D Plus show Wednesday night. Or
yes.
We were either doing that, or that's when I was watching Jane for that D Plus show. Because we recorded Thursday. So I missed your first stream, but like I went to hop in after I'd finished watching the thing, and you'd already wrapped up. But cool. Enjoy the time streaming.
Yeah, it's a great game.
Yeah. Have some fun there with Yakuza.
Yeah.
And whatever else you end up
really
streaming.
excited. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Any final parting words on Yakuza Kiwami there in your like initial kind of 2 hours? Like, was there a significant difference or something that you were like, oh, this certainly feels different than how I thought it would feel based on having watched people play it versus it being in your hands?
I expected combat to be way easier.
Mm-hmm.
Because there were points where I was just like getting my ass kicked. My ass was just like getting handed back to me by just some like thugs, and I'm like, I was not prepared for this.
Yeah.
And like it looks like other people make it look so easy, and I was actually surprised by kind of like the like there's something very unique about that combat system in Kiwami that I just found very, very particular. I found that like I'm like I don't really have like there's no all like go-to style. Like I do end up in situations where I do need to switch it up to I'm like I can't take on this guy, like what's going on? I'm in like I'll switch up a style to go to like rush mode or something, and all of a sudden I'm hitting him too much for him to be able to keep blocking, because he just keeps blocking my heavy hits no matter what, and I can't recover from those heavy hits fast enough to get at him when his guard is down. So I switch over to rush mode, and I'm hitting him, and by the time I break his guard, I'm ready to go back in with some combos, and I start hitting him. And so even though it's doing like minimal damage, I'm still breaking that up, and I'm not taking as many hits because of that. And like rush stance gives you advantage in like doing the crouch dash away.
Mm-hmm.
Lets you go a little bit faster than the other styles. And then there are like times when it's like I need to go into beast style because I need to auto pick up whatever's around me to then
beast is just
just wail on people. But if I'm surrounded by people, like if I get surrounded by people, like I'm screwed because I can't turn fast enough to block and do things.
Yeah.
It's great. Like I really enjoy that kind of different stance. I love the dragon mode. I like the idea of like I love it. It's like Kiwami means extreme. So we made this like so it's more extreme, and I'm like, cool. I'm so into this. I love it. I love the Yakuza world. I love the characters, whether it's Dojima, Majima. Like just Dojima being like just like the most pure-hearted himbo.
You mean Kiryu?
Like Kiryu, yeah. Sorry, Dojima's the clan.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot. No, Kiryu being like this, the biggest like big-hearted himbo in the Yakuza world is just the absolute best.
Mm-hmm.
He's so great. I love him as a character. He's just it's like everybody's like, you're gonna start your own family soon. You gotta be mindful of that. And I'm like, in the back of my head, I was like, nope.
Yeah.
And like the story beats, some of them just still hit. They still hit no matter what. Like, it's just good. Like it's just good storytelling. It's good gameplay. It's fun. I am just super excited to keep streaming it. Like I told people, like I'll only be streaming, like mostly just streaming story mission stuff. So if I do stuff on my own on the side, like to make money and whatnot, I'll do grinding stuff like that off to the side because that's not interesting to people. So
that's what I eventually resorted to when I was doing, and I still need to go back to it for some more. But like when I did the Demon Souls stuff, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna like spend an hour off camera grinding and getting like half moon grass to heal myself up in combat or something. But that's not going to be at all engaging, so I'm not going to bother turning the camera on for that. Very cool. I will be curious. Have you seen or do you know anything really about Like a Dragon, or have you pretty much stayed dark on it? Okay, you've watched streams on that
because I've watched.
Like,
I've stayed dark as far as story wise stuff for it, but I'm aware of like one story beat, which is like a side quest where you have to like protect a tree or whatever.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And like what the end of that tree storyline is, like I know what that is. Like I'm aware of like the small things that were discussed at like Game of the Year roundtables.
Okay.
Because this game made like a lot of appearances on a lot of different podcasts.
Yep.
For Game of the Year, even though it didn't really win too many.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty stoked to get to that point. I also like I love that it's a story about like the downtrodden, and I'm aware like he ends up being homeless at one point, and so he befriends like homeless people, and like becomes he's doing his own thing. I'm aware of like a lot of those story beats.
Mm-hmm. That's I mean I'm mostly, especially your love of Kazuma or Kiryu. I'll be curious to see like what your take on Ichiban is as another character.
Listen, I already love Ichiban.
Yeah, I mean like he's
I've seen probably 2 hours worth of like footage from the game all together between streams and previews and stuff.
Yeah.
To know that this is an even bigger idiot than Kiryu.
Yeah.
He's a big old dum-dum, but he has his heart's even bigger.
Yeah.
And I am just so there for that.
Yeah. I'll actually segue into that because that's obviously I've been playing a ton of Like a Dragon. I talked about this a little bit last week, but yeah, Ichiban is basically Kiryu 2.0 in just a ton of ways. He has like a very kind of similar start to his story, and then from there, kind of, he doesn't have, I would say, as much like heartbreak and baggage going into his journey as Kiryu did.
Well, yeah, I mean the whole Kiryu's whole when I say the story beat still hit when he goes to confront the boss to try to like save his childhood friends. When he goes to do that, like that beat still hits where like his best friend is like still freaking out and he goes like, "You guys got to get out of here," and he goes, "No, if you go to prison, who's going to take care of your sister?" Like, I'll take the fall, I'll take the blame.
Yeah.
Like, get her out of here, and it's like this whole thing, and it's like, and then he becomes like this like scumbag dude later on, out when it like when he's out of prison. Turns out like he's now become a lieutenant, and he's like now caused a civil war in the family. Like, I'm like, these beats still hit. Also, I totally forgot Ken Watanabe is in this game.
Yeah. Is it actually Ken Watanabe?
Who plays the head of the family that dies before? Masu. Yeah, it's him.
Okay.
It's Ken Watanabe.
It definitely
I know Ken.
Had his look. I didn't know because obviously I like since it wasn't English, I didn't know it was Ken Watanabe doing the voice in Japanese. But that's cool. Yeah. So I'm like I said, I think I'm like 80 hours into Like a Dragon. I want to say I'm like in chapter 12 now. I finally just left like the main area of the game. Is where I'm at in terms of the story because in this one, instead of being set in Kamurocho or Sotenbori, this one is set in Ijincho. So a whole new like world to kind of play around with and run around with, which was like fun, but also like I was like, I miss those like familiar things because like you start out like the prologue is in Kamurocho or whatever, and it's fun seeing how that city has like changed over games as well as like when those games are set because like the prologue is set in like basically the 2000 to 2001 New Year's kind of thing, and so it's like from a period of time where Kiryu is in jail, so you can see like the city starting to change from beginning of Kiryu's journey to like where Kiryu comes in for more of Kiwami there, and then. But yeah, then you're kind of like shipped off to this other place for most of the game. But I'm seeing that I will eventually be making my way to kind of the other staples of the franchise. But it is such a fun, joyous, like absurd thing. I talked last week touching on the idea that like it is the most Earthbound game I've played since Earthbound probably. I guess Undertale too, but this one even more so I think in the way it just is playing with pop culture. And having fun with it and being very tongue-in-cheek and a lot of that stuff. But then also like super referential. And I was playing the other day and I was like, this is like if Earthbound was mashed up with like all of the in-jokes that the Saints Row franchise has built up over the years. Because you have like just, there are a ton of those references and things. And I'm catching a ton of them having played Kiwami 1 and 2 and 0. But I'm sure there are a ton of others that I'm missing that, if and when I go back and play through 3 through 6, I will catch, I will see more references and understand more gags like that. Excuse me. But it's just so much fun. The way they incorporate like summons into the game is basically like phone a friend. Because the whole thing is like Kiryu's whole Ichiban's whole thing is like he loved Dragon Quest, as a kid. And so he sees the world through the lens of Dragon Quest, and that means he sees enemies as like there are certain enemies that he kind of considers like the slimes, and then I was just facing off against an enemy that was basically your metal slime type of enemy that takes very little damage and is very prone to run, but if you kick that enemy's ass, you get a shit ton of experience. So even seeing like those tropes kind of incorporated into the game is a ton of fun. And yeah, just like the performances kind of across the board, I'm really impressed by and really enjoying. It's a lot of like there's a mix of like voice actors I recognize and then ones that I just don't, doing the kind of the English versions, but I really enjoy kind of all the characters that have been party focused, and it's especially as I've been playing and building up my party, it's doing something that I hope like allows kind of the series to it allows the series to continue, because it's doing something that I felt was lacking and missing in Kiwami 1 and 2 and 0, in that, especially when we've talked about this when I talked about Kiwami in my time with it a while back, but just like Kiwami, you go through that story and it ends, and there's been a lot of like death in that story, so there aren't a lot of characters to continue on in the journey with your character. And so each game kind of like you kind of have to start fresh a little bit. There's like one or two characters that will like carry over into the next game. But this one, because you're building up a party, it is building up a cast of characters that will hopefully continue on in Ichiban's journey moving forward, as opposed to like the next game, Yakuza 8, just having to kind of start all over again. And so I'm appreciating that. Because there's just like there's more relationships for me to get invested in and characters for me to care about, as opposed to like being introduced to a character and being like, well, I don't really need to care too much about this guy because I know he's not going to survive the game, or I can imagine he's not going to survive the game. So I'm enjoying that. I'm getting more invested because I feel like I can safely get more invested in a lot of these characters, and the banter they have with one another is just a ton of fun. Because there's like. It's like Final Fantasy 15 style. Like you'll interact with something in the world, and they'll have a conversation about it, and it's just like a cool little like thing that happens as you're continuing on throughout the game and stuff like that. To the point that sometimes, like if you interact with something or if you get into a fight, it'll interrupt it, and you'll have to like restart the thing. So I will like come across these scenes, and I'll just be like, I need to make sure like nobody's around because I want to just experience this, when it happens, and not like. Oh, I picked something up, so now I've got to restart the conversation, or, oh, there's an enemy coming down the alleyway, so I need to like, avoid their gaze or something like that. But it's just, yeah, it is fun, absurd joy with a JRPG lens. It's a great switch up because I was feeling burnt out on the Yakuza formula from the 3 I had played. And so switching it up to something completely different with JRPG mechanics has been like a delight, but it still has that Yakuza coat of paint, that like the Yakuza charm and humor, and it can get serious when it needs to get serious and have those very heartfelt moments and stuff. And yeah, I'm having a great time with it. It's looking like this. At this point, will probably be my 100th platinum because it seems doable compared to a lot of the other Yakuza games where it's like beat the game on like the craziest difficulty. This one doesn't have one of those kinds of trophies, and it seems it will be like a lot of grinding because I think I need to like get some things to max level that is still 80 hours in, way out of my reach. But yeah, I think I've kind of like settled on I'm enjoying this game so much that it will live in my PSN profiles as your 100th platinum. So I think that is the plan at this point. Because yeah, just having a great time with it. Ichiban's a great character, ton of fun. And his supporting cast is a ton of fun to go alongside with it. I didn't realize George Takei is in here. He plays he plays one of your characters in a role that is like more felt than seen, certainly, but yeah, he's in there. And I didn't recognize his voice when it came up until I went back and looked at it through like the IMDb page, but yeah, it's cool seeing him in there as well. So yeah, having a great time with Yakuza Like a Dragon. I especially, given this conversation, Cam, will be very interested to see like your thoughts on it, going from, especially with a focus on mechanics when you eventually get around to it. Just because, yeah, it is the most different thing given any of their other mechanics. So, yeah, those are my updated Yakuza Like a Dragon thoughts. Hopefully I'll finish it here in the next week, at least like the base game, and then, do whatever trophy cleanup I need to do. Also has a ton of fun, side minigame things. The Ichiban Confections management minigame in this one, like the Grand Cabaret games or Grand Cabaret missions before it certainly caught my like attention and became like, okay, I'm just going to be obsessed with this for 5 hours or whatever. Building up my like conglomerate of corporations and trying to like min max and figure out, okay, like how much money can I get per quarter, and then you go into, or per period or whatever, and then you go into like these shareholder meetings where it turns into like almost like the rock paper scissors style thing that they also incorporate in a ton of those games. Most notably, the one I remember was the beetle fighting side quests and stuff in I think the first game. Where you basically have like shareholders that'll be like angry and asking you questions, and you can bring some of your employees along, and you basically have to like fight them down. It'll be like your characters being like, I object, and no, you're missing the point, and stuff like that, and just like fun, like you're whittling down their health until they like lean back in their chair and they just start applauding you because you've won them over, to move up the ranks and climb the shareholder share point charts or whatever. I've been at number 1 for a while, and I just kind of keep playing it because each time you finish those shareholder meetings, you in your single player kind of, or in the main campaign, you get like a bonus, so an influx of funds. And when you get to like rank 1, you're bringing in 3 million yen each time, which comes in handy in this game. So I've just kind of like did that for an extra like half hour one day this week, where I was just like grinding out and just, raking in millions of yen to take it back into and like, stock up on a whole bunch of good gear and stuff like that. So ton of fun, in its Yakuza absurdity, and just what I needed as I finished Yakuza 0. This is just kind of the breath of fresh air I think I needed for the series before diving into more of Kiryu's story eventually. So that's the Yakuza talk. The last little thing I will touch on here.
Yeah, give me the quick thoughts on it.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. Huh?
No, I was just gonna say give me the quick thoughts on Raya and the Last Dragon. Is it worth $30, Trevor?
Yeah. So Raya and the Last Dragon. I'll save most of these thoughts for when we do an eventual That D Plus show on it. But I did sit down and watch Raya and the Last Dragon, largely because I realized if I was fine dropping $50 to watch the AEW pay-per-view last weekend, I could drop $30 to watch Raya here. Because if I had gone and seen it in theaters, probably would have been a $30 night, between going to the Alamo and grabbing food and stuff like that, or I would have done what I've have commonly done in recent years, where I would go see it and then I'd go see it like a second time, just to enjoy and pick up other things. So as it is, like I've already watched Raya twice from my own home, this time around. So yeah, for me, it was absolutely worth the $30. If you have like a family of people that you're splitting that cost with, it's going to be an even better savings and stuff like that. But it is a beautiful, beautiful story. It is. I mean, there are a lot of similarities to it in some of the casting choices, but it reminded me a lot of Crazy Rich Asians when I saw that, where I was like, I went into that not really expecting much. In fact, like the trailers I had seen for Crazy Rich Asians had kind of like almost driven me away from it because it felt like so stereotypical rom-com thing. But then seeing people, overjoyed by the representation that it features, like was a great strong selling point. In particular, obviously our friend Belinda Garcia touched on how great it was seeing kind of a character of Southeast Asian Pacific kind of representation here, and seeing that in a Disney animated thing, seeing Kelly Marie Tran out there, getting the love that she is absolutely due. In particular, like, and Gemma Chan is phenomenal, and as somebody who like Awkwafina plays like Sisu the dragon, and I remember like my first introduction to I think Awkwafina was like Ocean's 8 or something like that, and I was like, okay, like she's being a fun stereotypical character or something like that. But then seeing her in something like Crazy Rich Asians, I haven't seen it, but The Farewell, I know she was phenomenal in. Phenomenal. And she's really good in this too. Like she does the comedy moments that you need her to do in this role, because it is like there's a weird like it's almost the Eddie Murphy Mushu kind of role, but for a new age. There's a lot of parallels to that and Mulan, obviously. But she does great there, but she also does great when she has kind of more dramatic, heartfelt moments in the piece. Gemma Chan's in there is great. But one of the ones that I like that really impressed me, that really stood out, is Daniel Day Kim of Lost fame, plays Raya's father, kind of, and a lot of the movie. I won't get into like the overall beats, but like he is very hopeful and he wants to like the the country has splintered into these 5 different factions, and he's the head of one of them and wants to try and bring everything together. Things go awry, but like that was his dream, is he wants to reunite the country. And he has like this whole introductory sequence with Raya, with young Raya, basically kind of espousing that and wanting, this hopeful future. And he just has such a lovely rapport with Kelly Marie Tran, that they just have this like beautiful relationship at the beginning of the movie that it was just like incredibly endearing and heartwarming. A lot of the side characters are a ton of fun. There's very much like it's weird like watching this as I'm playing Yakuza Like a Dragon, because there is a like, we're gonna build a party and we're going to like go on a quest and collect all these things and bring everything together, and so I need this person from this tribe and I need this person from this tribe kind of thing to join my ranks, and everybody has their role to play in the story. So there's like a fun just video game element to this story.
I heard a lot of people talk about the fact that it'd be a great video game.
Yeah, I think Yusuf Magid, said something to that effect, and yeah, it absolutely would. Like it does. If we lived in like that golden age where Lion King and Aladdin kind of got made, if like there were a licensed version of the Raya game, it probably would be a great game to kind of play through, kind of chapter by chapter or something like that. So yeah, it's really good. I think it has a great message, especially for like the times we live in. And yeah, I just had a great time with it. And obviously it is another one of those cases where like representation is a beautiful thing, and seeing kind of like the story is still great, and seeing another. Like it echoes like Frozen in recent years, of like very strong, powerful. It echoes Moana, young woman, kind of like there isn't a love story component to this, which I love. Growing up in the era of Disney princesses and all that stuff. Like it is this strong young woman on a quest to set things right, to try and fix the world. And yeah, I just had a great time with it. So yeah, I finished it and then sat down and watched it again, just kind of like, to just kind of, I mean, partly to get like the most out of my money, since it will eventually go live, I want to say in like May for everybody else. But also just cause it's a really good story and has some really good themes, and it's beautiful. Has a lot of great like color to it, and palette choices and stuff like that. So yeah, really, really solid. Raya and the Last Dragon. I highly recommend it, but I totally get, $30 is a lot, especially on top of, an already monthly fee in Disney Plus. But if you do have Disney Plus, certainly don't miss it when it comes to the service kind of for free in, I want to say like May 4th or May 5th or something like that, I think is when that's going to come out. But yeah, it was really good. Or it might be a little later than that. I feel like the premiere access, it was like you can buy it until May 4th, I think is what I saw. But I don't know if it's going to, immediately come out after that. But yeah, I mean, definitely check it out.
Reading or seeing more in it, I get more and more just like, maybe I'll just pull the trigger. And because I was literally talking to Shroff today about it. And then I was like, it's $30. And she was like, oh, okay, wow, I didn't realize. And I was like, yeah, but like, it'd be like the cost of like, if we went to a movie, we would easily pay at least $30 because she had a draft house.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what I'll do, and I'll bite the bullet.
Yeah. I treated it, or I also like rationalized it as like, oh, it's an early birthday present to myself because my birthday's coming up this week. So
yep.
So I was like, yeah, I'll do that. I will treat myself to this extra little thing this weekend. And yeah, had a really good time with it. So I definitely think it's worth the money. Certainly more so than Mulan, which I was very glad I had not spent the money on when that one came to Disney Plus. But yeah, if I mean, obviously times are tight for a lot of people right now. So if you gotta wait, then wait, but don't miss it once it's more easily accessible to people. So yeah, definitely check out Raya and the Last Dragon when you can, because it's real good and real pretty and great performances and just a ton of good stuff to it. So yeah, I think that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you guys for joining me. Let's go around the metaphorical table with any plugs we might have. You can follow Cameron at Rev Cabot. Anything you want to give a shout out to, Cam?
Yeah, I just want to give a quick shout out to kind of toot my own horn here, but my Twitch channel is twitch.tv/revcabot. Same as my Twitter handle. Going to be streaming there tomorrow, or depending when you're listening to this today. I don't know. On Monday, I will probably stream about, I want to say 6 p.m. Arizona time, which I guess after today is West Coast.
Yeah, we're aligned with Pacific again. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So it'll be 6 p.m. Pacific time. It'll be I might start late because of work. Sometimes I have overtime, especially on Mondays. So we'll see what happens with that. And then I'll be streaming again. Of course, Wednesdays will resume on Wednesday, same time, 6 p.m. Pacific. And that's pretty much it for me.
Cool. You can follow Logan at Lefty Logie. Anything you want to give some love to, Logan?
Sure, yeah. I'll give some love to Trevor's Astro's Playroom Let's Play, which I'm going to watch. I can finally watch it now after we get done recording this. I'll also give a shout out to the part 3 of the Premier League predictions, I guess just seasonal updates me and Tom have done. I'm literally sending Trevor Tom's audio right now as we speak because he finally shared it with me. So stay tuned for that probably this week as you listen to this, I would say. Probably come out, I don't know when we usually do that conversational podcast, Wednesdays?
There's no regular time for it.
Oh, any day. Sometime in the future, you're going to hear it.
It's when it gets uploaded or when it gets edited together, and then I'll upload it like the next appropriate day or something.
Perfect, yeah. So stay tuned for that. It was a lot of fun doing kind of these updates, and what has been a joy about that pod, aside from just talking to Tom because he's a lovely human being, is just how completely wrong our predictions are every single time. This has been a very upside down, sideways sports year for every sport, and that is held true for soccer as well. So it's been a lot of fun doing that and making a fool of ourselves. And then otherwise, just stay tuned to all the good stuff we're doing over here at That Nerdy.
Cool. You can follow me at Trevor J. Starkey on Twitter. And I will shout out the Let's Plays, in addition to the Astro's Playroom one that Logan mentioned. This last week, I did a couple playthroughs or a couple Let's Plays of Stronghold Warlords because we were given a code of that game. So I kind of dusted off some RTS stuff. I believe the Tuesday Let's Play that's going to go up this week is me sitting down with the Easy Allies levels of Hitman 3 because those went up last week.
Yeah, nice.
In the China level of Hitman 3. Had some fun with that. They were probably my favorite of the bunch so far. I mean, and a lot of it really comes down to the idea they put into the briefings of the things. They did much more of the min-max style where each of their briefings are referencing Easy Allies things, which Kind of Funny did not really do, which was one of the disappointing things because obviously the Kind of Funny community is the one I know the best. So I was of the 3 batches so far, I was probably actually most disappointed by the Kind of Funny ones, but they were still fine and fun missions to do. It's fun extra stuff like that. So check that out. I think the Thursday one is either going to be kind of a next chapter in the Stronghold Warlords, or I've been hearing a lot of buzz about Loop Hero, so I picked that up on Steam, and we'll see if I sit down and put some time into that for a Let's Play. Check out all that over on our YouTube, youtube.com/thatnerdysite. If you're not already there watching our beautiful faces as we do this as a video version of the podcast. Once again, you can check out all of that stuff over at That Nerdy Site or go to thatnerdysite.com for all the latest from us. If you liked what you heard, please rate, review, like, subscribe, share the podcast with your friends, ring those notification bells, all that fun stuff. And if you do feel so inclined, you can always support us on Patreon at patreon.com/thatnerdysite, where patrons get early access to a monthly bonus episode of this very show. Thank you again for listening. Thank you guys for joining me. As always, stay nerdy and be good to each other.